It's the end of June, so I must have just ridden the Los Angeles Wheelmen's Grand Tour. It's a double century, with a Highland option, a Lowland option, a triple century option, a quadruple century option, a single century option, a double option. If you can ride a bike, they've got an option for you. We started at 3:30 in the morning because we wanted to get to lunch before it got too hot. Also because my son-in-law Edgar had to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning the following morning so he could go to work. So the sooner we finished, the more sleep he could get. That would be safer. Now we're going to ride the Lowland 200-mile route, and it starts with a 40-mile loop. It comes back to the hotel. Now the first loop looks like this. You can see we didn't really stop except for lights. We spent 10 minutes off the bike, and we finished it in about 2.5 hours. Here we are, arriving back at the hotel at 6 in the morning, just in time to enjoy the hotel's breakfast. Perfect timing. We were hungry after 40 miles, and we got good value.
Yeah, I was hoping to finish the first loop by 6 o'clock. Perfect. Good morning.
So after an excellent breakfast, we set out on the second loop probably around 6:30. It's quite a bit lighter now, and we're looking forward to a very pleasant 150 miles. I really liked the ham and nutrition products the organizers set out at each of the rest stops. One thing I really appreciated was the Perpetuum. I grabbed a pouch at each of the rest stops and put it in a water bottle, and that helped me going between the rest stops so that when I got to the next rest stop I wasn't as hungry, I didn't eat as much, I didn't feel as bloated, and it worked out really well. Now here's the second loop. It uses some of the same roads as the first loop. There are rest stops about every 25 miles. You can see there isn't a heck of a lot of climbing on this route. It's about 4,000 feet in 200 miles. Now, I have a very low tolerance for traffic. I really don't like riding in traffic. So once you get to Ventura, around mile 100, I take the opportunity to get up onto the Ventura River Trail. And that takes you all the way up to lunch in Ojai. And it's not the official route, but that's what I like to do. It's safer, it's more pleasant.
Stopping.
Now the route from Ventura up to Ojai is a long, gentle climb, and I noticed that Edgar, my son-in-law, was running out of steam a little bit, definitely slowing down, getting a little sluggish there. And I reckon he was probably bonking a little bit. And remember I said I'd been putting Perpetuum into my water bottle, and I tried to encourage him to do the same. He didn't quite understand what I meant, and he was drinking Perpetuum at the rest stops. So hopefully my daughter Amber there, his wife, who's a very experienced endurance cyclist, will explain to him how to use Perpetuum for future rides. Now, as we were headed inland, it was getting hot. It was getting up to the 80s, and as I said, we were climbing a little bit, and I had a big problem with sweating. I must have wiped a pint of sweat out of my eyes and off my brow during the day, and it became a major problem to the point where I couldn't even see to ride. One trick I've learned when I think it's going to be a warm day is I'll take a face cloth with me. In fact, I bought a whole bag of Amazon Basics face cloths just for this, and they're reusable. You can wash them. They're really convenient, and they're extremely good at bringing the sweat off your brow, getting it off your eyes, and also cleaning your sunglasses, because you get sweat all over your sunglasses. Another thing I do when I know it's going to be a hot day is I take salt pills in a small Altoids tin, and I'll take them prophylactically before I start cramping. But if I do actually start getting those pre-cramp twinges, I'll take a couple more salt pills, and that'll normally deal with the problem before I get to the stage of having debilitating cramps and writhing on the ground in pain. Again, if you're prone to cramps like I am, go buy a bottle of salt pills, again from Amazon, and they're dirt cheap. Don't get Endurolites from Hammer Nutrition. Much as I love them, they work very well, but salt pills work just as well, and they are a fraction of the price. So we got to lunch around noon. It's at mile 115 in Sarasota Park in Ojai. Now, 2 years ago, we were too late for me to get a bean burrito at lunch. And then a year ago, I was too early to get it. But we timed it perfectly this year. I got my bean burrito, first time in 3 years. Yes!
Yep. They said 84, but that's way more than that.
Now, I think this is the best lunch of any double century I've ever ridden. They really do a good job. Los Angeles Wheelmen really looks after their riders. Now, we definitely spent a lot more time at the controls than I normally would, but what the heck, it's not a race. We're having fun, so hey, why not? And here we are headed back down the Ventura River Trail. It's not the official route, I want to stress that, but safety is my highest priority, so that's what I take. I take the river trail, and if you want to take the road, that's the official route. We have a pretty strong onshore flow, but we're going downhill, so let's play some music. So after a leisurely lunch stop and a relaxed descent at 800 feet back to the coast, we were feeling very strong, especially considering we had 130 miles in our legs at this point. Now, you're not off the bike path for very long before the official route takes you onto another bike path. In fact, if you choose to use the Ventura River Trail up and back to Ojai, the last 90 miles of this route is mainly bike path.
Turn left. Turn right.
Now, you may have just heard my new Wahoo Roam version 3 giving me voice directions, turn left, turn right. It's a little on the quiet side, and this is my first major ride with this new head unit. And I kind of like it. I'll probably do a review of it later on. We're a little behind schedule, so let's speed things up a bit. The next control is at Rincon Point, which is immediately preceded by a stiff little 100-foot climb. It doesn't sound too bad, but it's at mile 140, and all of a sudden you realize you've got some miles in your legs today. And here's Rincon Point. From here it's only about 5 miles up the road to the point where we turn around, and then it's tailwind all the way back home. Yay! And here we are at the turnaround. Normally we go a few miles further, but as you can see, this year the road is closed, so we're turning around here. Now you're supposed to take a photograph or something, so this is my proof we rode out there. It's very much on the honor system. Now it's time to head back to the Rincon Point control again. So here's a better view of the Rincon Point rest stop. Now, you don't have to stop here if you don't want to, because you were here 12 miles ago. But on the other hand, it's another 35 miles back to the end of the ride, and you probably should top up with drink and maybe a few calories. Heck, you've paid for it, why not use it?
Anybody seen the water?
What would you like, sir?
I would like a water, please.
Water.
Water.
That's it.
Just top that up, thank you.
That's it. You got okay. I was like,
Is that a good word?
And now it's 35 flat miles back to the end of the ride with a slight tailwind.
Right turn.
Right turn ahead. Turn right.
So here we are back at the hotel. It's about 6 o'clock in the evening. We've been cycling for 12 hours. Total elapsed time is about 14 and a half hours. We got our free t-shirts and slept like only endurance cyclists can sleep. You know, they host this ride in December as well. Anyway, see you next year.